My lord, I seek your lordship's permission to open the proceedings. The proceedings are open. Now I request the honorable dignitaries to address the esteemed gathering according to their respective terms.
My Lord, Honorable Mr. Justice Vipin Sanghi, Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kumar Mishra, Senior Judge, their esteemed companion judges, President High Court Bar Association, Senior Advocates, Assistant Solicitor General, my colleagues on government side, members of the Bar, Registrar General, members of Registry, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, we have assembled here to welcome Honorable Mr. Justice Vipin Sanghi, the Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court. His Lordship was born on 27th October 1961 at Nagpur. Shifted with family from Nagpur to Delhi, started schooling at Delhi and completed his intermediate in the year 1980. His Lordship completed BSc Mathematics Honours from Delhi University in the year 1983 and did his LLB from Law Faculty, Delhi University in the year 1986. His Lordship enrolled with the Bar Council of Delhi in the year 1986. His Lordship worked in the office of Shri Mukul Rohtagi, Senior Advocate. His Lordship appointed as a central government panel lawyers in the Supreme Court of India. His Lordship functioned as a counsel for MC Jain Commission of Inquiry. His Lordship was designated as Senior Advocate by the Honorable Delhi High Court in December 2005. His Lordship attended various international conferences including Law Asia Biennial Conference in Tokyo, Japan and Gold Coast, Australia, the Polo Conference in Hong Kong and Insol Law Conference in Colombo, Sri Lanka. His Lordship appointed as Additional Judge of the High Court of Delhi on 29th May 2006 and confirmed as Permanent Judge on 11th February 2008. His Lordship elevated as Acting Chief Justice of Delhi High Court on 13/3/2022. We welcome you, sir, your Lordship here in this abode of God, which is popularly known as Devbhoomi, and hope and believe that under your Lordship's able guidance and patronship, entire legal fraternity and this institution will progress leaps and bounds. Sir, I on my behalf and on behalf of the state welcome you in this Devbhoomi where Ganga and Yamuna along with its tributaries flows with all its might and where salvation can be achieved by just remembering the name of God. I conclude with this Vedic verse, Anu Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishwata. Let the noble thought come to us from all directions. Thank you.
Your Honor, Honorable Mr. Vipin Sanghi ji, the Chief Justice of the High Court of Uttarakhand at Nainital, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kumar Mishra, Senior Judge of High Court of Uttarakhand at Nainital, and other esteemed judges of our High Court. Other esteemed dignitaries, including retired judges of the Honorable High Court, learned Advocate General, learned Additional Solicitor General, learned Senior Advocates, learned Registry, Registrar General, and learned members of the High Court Bar Association. It is my pleasure to welcome the Honorable Chief Justice Mr. Vipin Sanghi ji on my behalf and on behalf of the members of the Uttarakhand High Court Bar Association. Honorable Chief Justice was born on 27 October 1961 at Nagpur, Maharashtra. He did his schooling in Delhi. He did LLB from Delhi University. He was enrolled as an advocate with the Bar Council of Delhi in year 1986. He was practiced on civil and constitutional side in the Supreme Court of India and Delhi High Court. He was designated as senior advocate by Delhi High Court in December 2005. He was elevated as an additional judge of Delhi High Court on 29 May 2006 and became permanent judge on 11 February 2008. He was appointed acting Chief Justice of Delhi High Court on 10th March 2022 and took over as acting Chief Justice on 13 March 2022, consequently to the retirement of the then Chief Justice T.N. Patel. Honorable the Chief Justice took oath as Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court on 28 June 2022. We have learned from official website that Honorable Chief Justice was concerned about the life of general public during the second wave of COVID-19. The Honorable Chief Justice took so much cognizance of the matter and warned the government, more so observed as government it is your responsibility to supply oxygen to the patient, and further observed that the government says that we can arrange this much and people have to die. It was also observed that we cannot see people dying because oxygen was not available, and directed to the Union government to ensure safe and unobstructed passage of oxygen from base of the production to the recipient throughout the country. On my behalf and behalf of the High Court members of High Court Bar Association of this bar, I can assure you that we shall be too happy to become part of any of your deliberated solution. Your Honorable, your joining was brought in fresh hopes and optimism of ushering in an era of quick reforms. We therefore welcome you and wish you all the best on the start of your journey, and profoundly hope that when it ends, it is so full of accomplishment and achievement that everyone feels that it was really short and should have gone on. We welcome you and convey our best wishes to you and your family, Tenure. We are indeed privileged to have you as the Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court. We welcome you and your family to the Devbhoomi Uttarakhand. Once again, I wish you the very best for your tenure. Thank you and very best wishes.
Honorable Chief Justice Vipin Sanghi, the Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court at Nainital, gracious Lady President Mrs. Gunjan Sanghi, my esteemed brothers on the bench and their respective spouses, Mrs. Madhumita Mishra, Justice B.S. Bhamma, Justice J.C.S. Rawat, Justice Lokpal Singh, Justice V.S. Dhani, formerly the judges of this court, Mr. S.N. Babulkar, the learned Advocate General for the state of Uttarakhand, Mr. G.S. Sandhu, the learned Government Advocate for the state, Mr. C.S. Rawat, the learned Chief Training Counsel for the state, Mr. Rakesh Thapliyal, Senior Advocate and the learned Assistant Solicitor General of India, Mr. Prabhakar Joshi, the President of the High Court Bar Association, Nainital, Mr. Vikas Bhaguna, the Secretary of the High Court Bar Association, learned Senior Advocates, learned members of the Bar, learned member of the Registry of the High Court, the staff of the High Court, members of the print and electronic media, ladies and gentlemen. I, on my behalf and on behalf of my brother judges, and also on behalf of the entire judiciary of the state, accord a warm welcome and congratulate my Lord for assuming the charge as the 12th Chief Justice of the High Court of Uttarakhand at Nainital. My Lord, welcome to Uttarakhand, the abode of gods, also known as Devbhoomi, and welcome to Nainital, especially the lake city. It gives me immense pleasure, and I say so with matter of pride, that we have amongst us an experienced, capable, a learned person with a vision who is guided by his own wisdom and good conscience. The state is fortunate to have such a meritorious person as the head of the state judiciary. Born on October 27, 1961, Chief Justice Sanghi began his illustrious career by graduating MSc Mathematics Honours from Delhi University in the year 1983. Thereafter took his law degree in the year 1986. Chief Justice Sanghi was 1 year senior to me in the campus law center, Delhi University. He enrolled with the Bar Council of Delhi in the same year and started practice as an advocate before the Honorable High Court of Delhi and the Honorable Supreme Court of India. He is the third generation lawyer after his grandfather, late Shri Vipin Sanghi, advocate, and father, late Shri G.L. Sanghi, senior advocate. By stint of hard work, he was appointed as a central government panel advocate and functioned as such during 1991 and also a central government panel lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. He also functioned as a counsel for the MC Joint Commission of Inquiry. In acknowledgement of the contribution that he made to the legal profession, he was designated as senior advocate by the Honorable High Court of Delhi in December 2005. His acumen in various branches in the field of law was recognized by one and all, and soon thereafter he was elevated to the bench of the Honorable High Court of Delhi on 29/5/2006. Chief Justice Sanghi has attended various international law conferences, including Law Asia, Biennial Conference in Tokyo, Japan, Gold Coast, Australia, the Pula Conference in Hong Kong, the INSOL Law Conference in Colombo, Sri Lanka. During his tenure at the Honorable High Court of Delhi, the Chief Justice has disposed of around 20,000 main cases and about 30,000 miscellaneous applications, inclusive of about 2,000 judgments authored by him. He has authored various landmark judgments which adorn the law journals. The second wave of COVID-19 pandemic came with multiple unprecedented challenges which engulfed the entire nation. During those toughest times, the bench headed by Justice Sanghi took cognizance of the difficulties faced by the people and passed several orders for preserving human lives which were struggling due to scarcity of bed, oxygen, medicine, ambulances, testing facility, and the state's obligation to optimally utilize the limited resources. His compassionate approach has evoked the spirit of collective cooperation in the entire nation. In one of his recent judgments, in the case of Delhi Sarkari Ration Dealers Sangh Delhi versus Commissioner Food and Supplies Writ Petition Civil bearing number 2037 of 2021, Chief Justice Sanghi held that though the government of NCT of Delhi is entitled to frame a scheme for doorstep delivery of rations to the beneficiary, however, the same has to be done by the government of NCT Delhi from its own resources in compliance with the prevailing laws. In the case of Bhavya Jain versus High Court of Delhi, decided on 8/5/2020, the petitioner who was suffering from bipolar affective disorder applied for Delhi Judicial Service examination under the PWD category and cleared the preliminary and main exam. However, her selection was rejected, citing the reasons that her mental disability was found to be not permanent in nature. The court set aside the rejection order and directed the petitioner to be selected. The court held that a possible future eventuality cannot be a ground to deny employment. Chief Justice Sanghi further held that when a government establishment provides reservation for person with benchmark disability for any post, any candidate who fulfills the criteria must be assumed to be fit and proper for the post. The court held that the respondent could not have assumed that the petitioner would be unable to perform the duties of the post of a judicial officer. The view expressed by Chief Justice Sanghi in the said judgment was also upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court. In the case of Santuram versus Seth, Writ Petition Civil number 768 of 2009, decided on 7/2/2012, the deceased, who was the only son of the petitioner, died due to the negligence and dereliction of duty of the respondent. The respondent has failed to ensure that a large number of cemented electric poles which were kept in the middle of the park were in an orderly manner. One of the poles fell on the head of the deceased, which caused fatal injury to the deceased. Chief Justice Sanghi, while applying the principle of strict liability, directed the respondent to compensate the deceased family. A matrimonial appeal titled Poonam Sethi versus Sanjay Sethi, matrimonial appeal FC 31 of 2021 came to be filed against the order of the family court, which has directed the father to pay maintenance to the minor son, but has refused to grant any relief with regard to two major daughters who were above 18 years of age. The bench headed by Chief Justice Sanghi held that simply stating that the daughters are are major and earning an income without addressing how and how much is a non sequitur. The court directed the father to the extent of granting lump sum maintenance amount to defray the marriage expenses of the two daughters. While concluding, Justice Sanghi remarked that the court is hopeful that the mother would play a positive role in bringing the gap between father and daughters, and that he would be welcome at the wedding functions of his daughters. These judgments show that a compassionate human being lies within the heart of Chief Justice Sanghi, and all the judgments, among others, are must-read judgments for every student of law. The above judgments depict the judicious as well as the compassionate approach of Chief Justice Sanghi. My Lord, I have only recently become a part of the High Court of Uttarakhand. The High Court has a small fraternity of judges who work diligently and with a deep sense of brotherhood. We would be privileged that His Lordship's foresight and experience which provide us the guidance and support in the pursuance of our constitutional obligation to the public at large. Uttarakhand is a small state carved out of the big state of Uttar Pradesh in November 2000. The High Court has a young and growing bar which needs to be nurtured. The advocates are coming to this court from various parts of the state. There are few genuine problems faced by the advocate practicing in this court as well as by the staff members. We implore upon His Lordship to look into those problems and to improve the working condition of the advocate and the staff of the court. With these words, once again, I, on my behalf and on behalf of my brother judges, assure His Lordship that we will provide full support and cooperation and would work together in the dispensation of justice to the people of the state. I wish, my Lord, a successful tenure in the state of Uttarakhand. Thank you.
My dear brother Justice Sanjay Kumar Mishra and Mrs. Madhumita Mishra, Brother Justice Manoj Kumar Tiwari and Mrs. Manju Tiwari, Brother Justice Sharad Kumar Sharma and Mrs. Anita Sharma, Brother Justice Ramesh Chandra Kulbe and Mrs. Nirmala Kulbe, Brother Justice Ravindra Methani and Mrs. Shobha Methani, Brother Justice Alok Kumar Verma, former Honorable Judges of this court, Mr. S.N. Babulkar, the Learned Advocate General for the State of Uttarakhand, Mr. G.S. Sandhu, the Learned Government Advocate for the state, Mr. C.S. Rawat, the Learned Chief Standing Counsel for the state, Mr. Rakesh Thaplial, the Learned Assistant Solicitor General of India, Mr. Prabhakar Joshi, the President of the High Court Bar Association, Mr. Vikas Bahuguna, the Secretary, High Court Bar Association, learned senior advocates, learned members of the bar, learned members of the registry of this court, the staff of the High Court, members of the print and electronic media, ladies and gentlemen. I thank my learned brother, Justice Sanjay Kumar Mishra, the Learned Advocate General, Mr. Babulkar, the Learned President of the High Court Bar Association, Mr. Prabhakar Joshi, for their kind words and generous words spoken about me. I am very happy to be here with all of you and to take charge as the Chief Justice of this relatively new and young High Court, which has been around for just about 2 decades and more. I am very happy to come to this Dev Bhumi. I have had an association with this state for quite some time. My mother, before her marriage, was living in this state. She was in Haridwar, where my maternal grandfather was serving as a teacher. This brought me to Haridwar practically every summer in those days when I was a child. I also have a house in this state which I have had for nearly 20 years and more. As the 12th Chief Justice of this court, which has completed 21 years, a big responsibility falls on my shoulder to carry forward this court and to see that this court emerges as one of the best high courts in the country. I come from Delhi High Court, which is an old high court, which has established some very good practices, both at the bar as well as on the bench. The administration of the court is very advanced and very good. And with cooperation of everyone and with everyone's consent here, I would like to make suggestions for improvements wherever one can make in our systems, so that our working becomes more efficient and we are able to serve the cause of justice in a more effective and efficient manner. I look forward to cooperation from all of you in that regard. As I said, there is scope for a lot of work and improvement in the administration of justice in this court. I also look forward to work for the people of the state. This is a new state which has a hilly terrain. There are many remote areas where there is lack of facility for the public at large and even for the courts. I would like to see that we are able to provide better facilities at our district courts, particularly in remote areas which are not properly connected, neither by road nor telecommunication. And we would like to see that better facilities are made available so that the courts are able to function more efficiently in all such areas. A lot has been said about me. I thank my brother Justice Mishra once again for that. All of you have turned out in such large numbers. I have heard so many good things about the bar. I have been told by my brother judges here, and even before I came here, from others in Delhi, that the bar here is very friendly and very amiable, very receptive, and that gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of hope. And I only wish to say that I am here to strive to do whatever best I can for the bar, for this court, and for the state, all in all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now I seek the permission of the Honorable the Chief Justice to place the proceedings on record and close the proceedings.
Yes, please do.
Thank you, Lordship. The proceedings are closed. May I request you all to join in at tea at the ground floor of the Chief Justice block.